Secret guardians, starry bright, fiery ones beyond our sight, saints of yore, Buddhas too, guiding lights to me and you.
Chapter 13. Etheric Realm over Shanghai, China. Theatre Anteroom of the Jade Temple. May, 1999. The Akashic record of my father faded away. The anteroom filled with a simple sweet melody, which gradually grew in breadth and depth. I was reminded of an orchestra beginning a Beethoven symphony, with a single bassist, then adding a cellist, an oboe, the violins, then horns and timpani, and more, and finally a magnificent choir. Despite the overpowering scene I had just witnessed, I was aware of an incredible peace. It was as if my emotional self, which should have been in full-blown reaction mode, had remained with my sleeping physical form, which I was definitely not inhabiting at the moment. Instead, I now wore, for lack of a better term, a finer spiritual body, though body is a poor approximation. Rather, I was more like a focus of consciousness. What comes to mind is the proverbial drop of water in the ocean, completely one with the oceanic cosmos, yet still self-aware. Like a single ray of intelligent light shining within the vast geometry of divinity we call God. The music ended in a flourish, and the scene before me came alive again. I found myself immersed in a new record of my father during his Vietnam tour of duty, but this time on leave in Taiwan. Chapter 14. Taipei, Taiwan. Lin Family Residence. Yanshou Street. Akashic Record. November 1970. Sticking close by his date, Lin Loire, Sean Byrne entered the dimly lit high-rise residence of the girl's extended family. The pair had taken an insane taxi ride from Sean's hotel to the building in the Songshan district of Taipei. Using his horn instead of his brake, the taxi driver had barreled through bustling intersections and down market alleys packed with humanity. Loire had contracted with Sean to be his girlfriend for the week during his Or stay in Taipei. Loire's connection with Sean had been choreographed by her employer, the Blue Star Lounge, in downtown Taipei's Sangshan district. The Blue Star was one of the US military's unofficial vendors to its troops serving in Vietnam. For a daily fee of $20, the bar provided Chinese girls to the American troops that chose Taipei as their Or destination. Sean had flown into Taipei the day before with a plane load of US troops, each one dressed in civilian clothes, and hungry for a week of freedom after months on duty in the war zone. Upon landing at Taipei Airport, they had received a briefing that included the do's and don'ts regarding their time in Taipei, a map of the city, and the names of the 5 US military-approved hotels they were expected to choose from. Minutes after Sean had checked into his modest room at the aptly named Simple Life Hotel, east of downtown, there was a rap on his door. He opened it to a grinning tailor, overloaded with fabric samples and a bulky catalogue of his wares. In broken English, the tailor proceeded to pitch his products and their attractive prices. Within 30 minutes, Sean had agreed to purchase a charcoal grey wool suit and 2 separate pairs of slacks for $60. The obsequious tailor fussed over Sean, taking his every measurement and telling him that he would return to the hotel in 2 days with Sean's new clothes, which Sean would then mail home. The man finished quickly and scurried out the door, the grin he had arrived with still pasted on his face. Almost immediately, a second knock on the hotel room door announced another visitor. Sean had no idea who this could be. Whoever it was had obviously been waiting outside to see him while the tailor and Sean had been conducting their business. He opened the door to a petite Chinese girl in an American 60s style sundress. The girl smiled playfully at him. Sean's heart began to race. "You like?" she asked, getting straight to the point. Sean flushed, embarrassed by the girl's flirting. "Yes," he said in a voice just above a whisper. He scrambled to gather his wits. After 9 months of cheating death as a combat infantryman, he had no moral qualms about paying for a week of comfort with a Taipei bar girl. He would be generous and would try to forget his life as an infantry grunt for a few days. He was not the hard partying type, and wouldn't be doing much bar hopping. He just wanted respite from the senselessness of war. And if a few days of precious peace could be found in the arms of the smiling girl standing before him, he would be grateful for it. "Please, come in," he managed to say while offering a return smile to his guest. That was 3 days ago, and by now Sean and Lua were well acquainted. Enough so that she was taking him to meet her family. Sean found it disconcerting that a Taipei working girl would bring her paying customer into her family residence. Lua seemed to think nothing of it. She might as well have been arriving home from a long day at the factory. He suspected the girl was the primary breadwinner for the family. As soon as the pair set foot inside, Lua began to converse in sing-song Mandarin with a woman Sean guessed was her mother, who was serving the evening meal. A girl that looked to be Lua's younger sister was helping. She was petite and even more striking than Lua, with fiery dark eyes and a purity of appearance that Sean found fascinating. The girl stole a glance at him, her eyes lingering on Sean for as long as she dared. Sean noticed. He gave her a little wink and smiled at her with his eyes. The girl looked quickly away, but in the instant prior, Sean thought he saw a hint of a smile in return, though he couldn't swear to it. Other family members were eating at a large round wooden table. A pair of young children were running about and giggling. A deeply wrinkled woman of undetermined years sat quietly in an old rocking chair, her unusually bright eyes ready to close for the night. Quite a bit of life left in that one, Sean mused to himself. Others at the table joined in the conversation. To Sean's ears, it was a cacophony of unintelligible sounds. He stood uncomfortably still next to Lua, feeling like the proverbial elephant in the room. Finally, Lua motioned for him to take a seat at the table. The evening meal was served in bowls and plates, placed in the center of the table as per Chinese custom. The spread included rice, adzuki beans, sunflower and pumpkin seeds, pickled plum sauce, cooked red and green cabbages, and a variety of thin-sliced cooked sea vegetables. Tea had already been served, and each diner had also been served a small bowl of noodles. Sean was grateful for no mysterious seafood dishes of the variety he had seen in the open-air food stalls of Taipei. He smiled and sat next to a weathered old man who was chewing on pumpkin seeds despite missing several front teeth. He nodded to a younger man about his own age sitting across from him, perhaps Lua's brother. "You eat," Lua said. She had already helped herself to rice and some of the seaweed. Among her family, Lua chatted up a storm. To Sean, the contrast from the sweet, flirty role she played with him was eye-opening. Tonight he was just along for the ride. He ate quietly, and was relieved to discover that the food was palatable to his Western tastes. He had feared he would have to choke his portions down so as not to offend. Because of the language barrier, Jian was left with only non-verbal nods and smiles as his communication tools. Lua's sister had finished helping her mother serve the meal and had taken a chair 2 seats to the left of Jian. He briefly looked her way again. Again, he was taken with her beauty, especially those eyes. Sitting between Jian and her sister, Lua couldn't help but notice. "You like my sister?" Jian blanched. Once more, his girlfriend for the week had cut right to the heart. "Yes," he said, in a barely audible voice. "My name is Ming, and I like you too, Jian." Jian's heart pumped a little faster. "Thank you," he said. "You speak English well, like your sister." "Ming speak better English me," Lua said. "Speaks better than me, sister," Ming corrected. "Than me. Yes, Ming. See?" Lua giggled and looked at Jian. Jian smiled but did not reply. The moment passed, and Lua resumed conversing with her mother in rapid-fire Mandarin. Finally, she whispered in Jian's ear. "We go now," she said. He rose obediently and bowed toward the table. "Thank you, and nice to meet you all," he said, bowing again. Lua hugged her mother and then Ming and whispered something into her sister's ear before the couple left the building to hail a cab. After enduring in silence another white-knuckle taxi ride back, Lua and Jian entered the Simple Life Hotel hand in hand, pausing in front of the lobby's lone lift. "I be back 1 hour, yes? I go to Blue Star get money," Lua said. Then they kissed, as any two lovers might. Jian turned to the lift and hit the up button. By the time he got in and turned around again, Lua had stepped out into the night. As the lift clacked past floors on its ascent, he replayed Lua's sister's voice in his mind. "And I like you too, Jian." He'd gone weak in the knees at that. She told him her name too. Ming.